hear me? We're hearing, and we're live. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we're doing it here on No Filter Sports. We're coming in fast and hard because I'm in the middle of an NFL football draft. So, let's see. We got our Josh. Oh, I think Diggs got taken.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'm going to pick a running back. So we're going to get Jacobs. Jacobs is our
choice.
Yeah, we do need a running back. But anyway, welcome to No Filter Sports. We will get back to this a little later. So we'll hide that for a second. And back to us two. Yes, I'm your host, Brian Lyles, and with me today is Chip from Chip Chat. He's here for mainly not to help me with my fantasy draft, but no, he's also here to help me with some other things because we both have a mutual issue with the current state of college football and where it's going. So we will be discussing that. But Chip, how are you today? But first off, I want to say this. Miss Kiki, she's out on assignment, as Chip would like to say with his co-host Tez. So she's out on assignment, but you will definitely see her Mondays on Real Talk Uncensored with her partner in crime, Tone. So you don't want to miss that. But yes, but she will be back, and hopefully she will may come in via satellite, may appear somewhere, but we'll hopefully she'll give us her picks for this upcoming season for the first month of the season. If not, we will do it next month. But anyway, Chip, how are you officially though?
I am well. I have survived most of the weekend, so I'm here. It's been week 0 in college football, which means there's been several games that nobody cared about, including Notre Dame committing a Pearl Harbor on Navy. So
right.
At least they got on the board. Good job, Navy.
Yes.
But they played the game in Ireland of all places, which is
didn't make any sense. I didn't know they were over there. So it's like
I didn't know it was happening, but I was like, why does the field look weird? And then they're like, oh yeah, they're in Ireland. I was like, but why?
I don't know. They still want to, that quote unquote Irish feel and all that stuff, but to me it's like, come on, you guys are
Ireland already plays football. They have 2 games that are like football. They have rugby, of course, which is I think it's pretty interesting actually, and then they have this game that they call Gaelic football, which is played with a round ball. It looks almost like a volleyball, but they carry it around and they run up and down the field with it and they put it in the goal. And so you might recognize it as some version of like Ultimate, but without a frisbee.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of interesting. So,
and it's huge, and they all play all the time, and they talk about it constantly. And there's men's and women's leagues, and it's on TV like every hour of the day. So they don't have room for college football.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Well, somehow they have it. So I mean, they have room for it. So to slip it in there to bring in the Irish for some whatever silly reason, but
the lucrative TV market of Ireland. 3 million people in Ireland. It's a really small country.
That's true. So, but anyway, actually, there are good reasons why you're here. One, like we're talking, it is college football is official will happen later, based off our tape date. It will be next weekend. But pro football, the NFL football, mind you, we had the XFL, we had the USFL during the springtime. But no, what everyone says, this is actually football season, is we'll have the NFL's back. And during the last show in Chip Chat, it was kind of funny that some of your questions are basically the hint of the preseason and how the Ravens winning streak was totally meaningless and all stuff. And it kind of sparked a nerve for me.
Yeah, I went after you for that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The funny thing is like that was kind of sparked a good quick introductory question, not really for this, is there a sort of like a trigger, like either someone saying something to you that gives you the indication that it's football season? I mean, is there someone that said something like, it's like, I don't know, just out of randomness? Oh, just to let you know that chime It is time for a draft pick. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. Let me bring up my thing here. All right. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm in the middle of my fantasy draft. Likelihood, I'm looking at Devontae Smith, but he got picked. So I'm picking my boy Mark Andrews. So I'm going with Mark Andrews in this round, even though they say, but at least I have two decent tight ends on my team. So that's looking good. So all right.
Okay, so the answer to your question is yes. I mean, I'm never not in sort of football mode. I'm kind of always, thinking about that. But yeah, I was at the grocery store, and this is college, it's not pro, but I was walking down the aisle and I saw this lady and her husband shopping, and she's walking towards me and definitely not looking up, and I could see from a mile away her stupid crimson and gray, and she's Ohio is what she was, and I'm wearing Michigan stuff as usually, and I start slowing down. I'm like, all right, let's just brace for impact. And her husband is like, honey, and finally she looks up right as she almost runs into me, and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. And then she looked at my hat and she goes, oh, and I was like, yeah, the season hasn't even started and you're already ramming me in the grocery aisle. Like, what's wrong with you people? And then she had some dumb comment because she's from Ohio and can't, think clearly. And that's a sad thing for people from Ohio. But, and her husband was like, all right, honey. And then, they left. But I was like, I was ready to fight. I was mad. I was already ready to go. So is there a thing that lets me know football season is starting? Like I said, it's for us, it's not the chatter. My wife and I talk about football all the time. So this is a never-ending thing. I think it's when I see the local news start to like mention the football team stuff, right? When Channel 4 is like, by the way, the Commanders game is this weekend and whatever, and I'm like, all right, when the non-football people are like paying attention, then they know. I don't know. I mean, what is it for you? You have your draft, and obviously you're sort of hyper glued to it.
Right. The funny, I think, when you, like I said, and it did, what sparked this question was when you start talking about my team, and like if it's early on, like, when it's not, during the non-season, it's kind of like, whatever. It is like, I'll say whatever I have to say. And especially, just, like you say, just typical commentary stuff. But like when it gets really close, when you're like now between August to now, going into September, it's kind of like, that just sparks a nerve. It just makes me like,
I mean, it got your hackles up when I was like, yeah, the Ravens are proud of this dumb streak of winning a bunch of preseason games. And like Brian switched on his mic and was like ready to go for like a good 10 minutes before I even finish like what I was saying. Right. And then he was like, let me tell you something, buddy.
I was like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it was like, listen here, brother. It was so like, he got so amped up. I thought he was gonna punch the door again. Like it was so exciting to watch Brian get mad. And that is why I did it. I want to be clear about that. I never have liked the Ravens, mostly because I don't like their fans. And you fit right into that mold. So that's fine.
Well, I think that oddly enough, our fan base is not like all the other certain fan bases. Like I said, the entity of the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base, they're, like I said, they're an entity. They're just ridiculous to me. And mind you, if Kiki was here, I mean, understanding her being a Cowboys fan, I think I'm not speaking for her, but I feel like, she's passionate. She's passionate about her team. And so, which is understandable. There's nothing wrong. So, but I really think it's like, with our fan base,
time to pick.
Time to pick. So right now I am looking at, speaking of Ravens, I'm picking on my
the
kicker.
Greatest kicker of all time.
Yes, Justin the baritone Tucker or soprano. He's a soprano. That's it.
Yeah, he's a singer though.
Yes, yes. Oh no, not just a singer. He's an opera singer.
Yeah, an opera singer. Right, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So adding him to the mix. So and
also famously Baltimore opera singer Mike Rowe of the Dirty Jobs fame.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I think with the way closer to the season and in season, I'm like all in. I'll defend my team left and right. I don't care who you know, especially if you're the Steeler fan. I mean, I do work with people who are Steeler fans. So and I just feel like, you know, it's like, okay, I'll give you respect. I'll give you respect, but just you know, for 2 weeks, 2 times a year, we will not like each other for a while.
Understandable. Who's your next pick? You got another pick to make?
Yeah, I got another pick. Let's see. We are looking at, with 20 seconds left, I'm thinking defense, and actually, yeah, I think picking my team again.
I was going to say the Baltimore defense is pretty strong.
Yeah, so as long as you know, they get better and better. So, but yeah, I'm picking a D. So yeah. Surprisingly enough, McLaurin is still available. So
I think that's probably because people were wondering about that injury.
Yeah, they're putting in questionable right now. So and
I think he'll be fine. There's still a couple weeks to go. Like he can recover. But also I don't know that Scary Terry is like a great fantasy wideout, because he's not like a super stats generator, but he's a clutch receiver, you know. Right. He's not a guy who gets a ton of yards all the time, but he's a guy who always gets open when you need him, and that's not a fantasy category.
That's true. So, but anyway, so yeah, so we're in the middle of football season. As you can see, we're talking, like I said, we were talking about how we get triggered into it, and right now my trigger is fantasy draft. But let's get to the real trigger. College football for years has been pissing me off with whatever ideology they're trying to think of to claim that, oh, we're getting better, we're getting to the point where everybody will be happy. And to me, I think they have completely missed the boat once again by allowing this year UCLA and USC to leave the Pac-12 and head over to the Big Ten,
which doesn't happen until the 24
season. But adding to that is a whole bunch of other crazy shit. So I'm gonna build this up. Let's build a model timeline here.
Okay.
So in the beginning stages of your elite conference, the Big Ten, these are the original members, and a lot of people do not remember the fact that the Big Ten was the Big Seven, and your Ohio team was not in it.
They were not in it.
Yeah, until 1912. But the original teams are Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin, and the University of Chicago.
That's right.
They were a founding member of the Big Ten. Then let's go to the golden era, everyone.
And before that, we were the Western Conference, by the way. It wasn't even called the Big Ten. It was that's why the Michigan fight song is Champions of the West. That's the, you know, how it ends, because we're the Western Conference.
Right.
But the country hadn't finished growing the rest of the way yet. So
yes, that's
basically true. The Midwest was the end of America.
Right. So let's go to the golden era, and this is where everybody is familiar with how the Big Ten is. So the golden era, which pretty much around 1950 till 1990. So we see Ohio State coming in. We add in Michigan State. We add in Iowa, and so pretty much this is how we view the Big Ten for years.
This is the conference that I think is still the conference. This is my Big Ten. Yes.
So as everyone says, this is not your grandfather's. You know,
that is my Big Ten. Yes, it is.
It is. So sadly enough, this is where I get to the point of where I call what the fuck.
Yeah, when we let Penn State in, that's the beginning of the slide.
So like I said, the Big Ten is expanding to 4 extra teams. So we as I drop again, but the 4 extra teams are UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon.
Yep.
Which I'm surprised that they want to leave. Pretty much these 4 are original members of the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, depends on how you see it.
They were the Pac-10.
Yeah, so it's keep reducing now. Speaking of reducing down, so here's what's really going on, because this created a huge domino effect.
It wasn't them that created the domino effect, though. They are the tail end of this domino effect.
Right. So let's add into the fact of this. So not only those 4 leaving the Pac-12, so let's go get into other conferences, because Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State and Utah are leaving the Pac-12 to go into the Big 12. So pretty much Colorado is going back into it because they were originally in the Big 12 a long time ago. And so then all of a sudden you have that. Then you add in this, what is South Carolina, Southeastern Conference, where you have Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12 to go there.
So that's the domino. That's the beginning of the tumbling of the dominoes, right? Mm-hmm. When Texas and Oklahoma leave the Big 12 to go to the SEC, everybody was apoplectic. They're like, the Big 12 doesn't exist without Texas. It can't be. What the Red River rivalry is like the most important thing in all of Big 12 football. And like, also during this time, you know, Texas hadn't played Texas A&M in like 100 years, or, you know, not 100, but a long time. And you know, the Big 12 was basically Texas football, right? It was, and then Oklahoma and Kansas were part of it too. But like, that you had the Bedlam, you know, you had Oklahoma State, this like classic game, right? That you had all the old Christian school. Well, they're still Christian schools, but like the Christian schools, the old Texas Christian conference, you know, with TCU and Baylor and SMU, and like that was all enclosed in it. And then you had Texas and you had A&M and you had all, and Arkansas, like it all was a great regional conference. And they had a Cotton Bowl, and they had like, there was so many things about that conference. As soon as Texas took the money, which I can't blame them for it, the SEC came waving that money and said, come on over. And both Texas and Oklahoma had to know that they're leaving where they were the big fish in the pond to go to basically get their asses whooped for the foreseeable future. I mean, there's not a chance that they're going to be competitive against Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, you know, the list of Tennessee. I mean, the SEC is going to eat them like Texas barbecue. I mean, that's what's going to happen. You know,
I'm going to put it back up again of how the SEC will be in 2024. So adding it, if you see in the parentheses, is when these teams got added into, because Arkansas came in and South Carolina came into the SEC in 91. Arkansas came in also from the Southwest Conference or the Big 12 Conference.
Right.
And Texas A&M also came from the Big 12 Conference.
Right.
And they've been there for about 11 years now, and they're still struggling to try to find a footing into this mess. And it's like, and as well as Missouri as well. And it's like, at least Missouri's been kind of a team that's looked like they've been decent enough to contend here, but Texas A&M feels like they've been lost.
A&M's only chance at a win is now that Texas is in the conference.
Right.
Texas.
Right. And I just feel like, to me, I've seen how this been playing out. And like, I kind of agree. It's like, well, okay, Oklahoma, I've seen some Big 12 games in the last couple of years. And it feels like it's like, okay, you guys are going into a complete mess.
Yeah.
Meaning
it was a disaster of a conference for the last probably 6 or 7 years. You know, save TCU, obviously, that they came out and made it to the championship. But see, that's part of the problem, right? Everybody's like, oh, well, they were undefeated, you know, or they had one loss, whatever it is. They won't play anybody. You know, they were playing in the Big 12 that was an imploding conference.
Right.
And if you've got teams leaving, you've also got prospects and recruits and players hitting that transfer portal. Like, the whole quality of your strength of schedule starts to degrade substantially. Right. So, like, should they even have had any business being in that playoff? Maybe not. I mean, they certainly beat us. I'm not arguing that. But, like, then they go there and play Georgia, and Georgia just absolutely, I mean, that was a hate crime, and I don't know what anybody expected. Of course, that was what was going to happen. Was Georgia was going to beat the shit out of anybody else that they played. But like as the Big 12 dissolved, right? Then they had to find some sort of solution, and that's when the absorption of some of these Pac-12 teams starts to look viable to them, and that all got kicked off by SC and UCLA leaving. Right? Because once UCLA and USC, the LA market is out of the conference isn't viable for a TV deal. They were trying to get some deal with Apple TV. Nobody was going to watch that. And, they don't have any money. So then, of course, the Arizona schools are going to flee. And, of course, Colorado is going to flee. And, of course, Utah is going to flee. Like, why shouldn't they? The only question is where to flee to. And the Big 12, I guess, was available. I mean, I don't see any other reason. It's not like they've got a great TV deal either,
Well, that's begin with. Well, before we end this, I mean, this is how I want to end the fact of how the Pac-10 Pac-4 will be in 2024, because the remaining teams will be, as of now, California, Berkeley, Oregon State, Stanford, and Washington State. Not Washington. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to put the state part. But yeah, that's what the Pac-4 will look like in 2024. But in the end, I've had this discussion with a lot of friends, you like football, and I do work with a university and trying to understand the simple fact of why are you leaving? And I understand everyone's been saying it's about the money. It's about
all money.
The money. But my thing is, I'm trying to figure out it's got to be something more than that. I know that's the number one thing. I said it to every person I've asked this question. It's like, I understand it's about money, but there's something else. Because why is it that the football team dictates where your athletic program goes to which conference it's going to? Because that's where I feel like, because I've read I've read articles to where, especially when Maryland went to the Big Ten, and it was kind of like everyone was like, "Why are we leaving? Why are we traveling like that far?" Because even though so far they've benefited and improved their facilities and stuff like that, again, that's all about the money and all that stuff. The TV, whatever TV deal they got out of this, but expanding to far west, it's like, how is it you have USC wanting to travel to Ann Arbor, but not in just in football, and in basketball, but what about your tennis team or your track and field or your lacrosse team? To me, it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, it also it's a question of like type of school. The Maryland question is a good thing here. Maryland is not a football school. They don't play football well at Maryland. That's not been their main sport. They're a basketball school. They left arguably the basketball conference of the ACC to go make a decision based on their football TV deal, which takes them away from their big game with Duke, takes them away from their big games with all of their other, Carolina and all the other ACC rivalries. Like, ACC is a basketball conference, and Maryland is a basketball school. And a lacrosse school. These are two sports where, like, they're going to go to the Big Ten and get whooped in basketball, and they have been getting whooped in basketball and stuff. But then on the flip side, they're going to go there and kick everybody's ass at lacrosse, because the Big Ten doesn't really play lacrosse like that. Like, I don't understand, when you've got the bigger schools like SC, like UCLA, who are perennial contenders in both basketball and football, like, they're probably making a deal. But then there's also, that there have been schools that are like differently aligned across different sports, like Notre Dame, which is independent in football, but they are conference aligned in all of their other sports, because that makes sense for them. And, maybe you see the breakup of the athletic departments being conferenced by school and being more conferenced by sport in basically super leagues. That might make a little more sense. This whole thing is, part of this is hard to really explain because you have to know. People are probably looking at this going, why are these two guys so upset about this? Why is anybody upset about this? This is forming up super leagues. It's forming up things that are a little more organized. It might be a little more structured in terms of like measuring strength of schedule or measuring, one-on-one and getting more of these games into something that looks a little more like the NFL or a little more like the NBA, where there's like a, easy split national, AFC, NFC, or East and West Conference. And because they're not understanding that college football is a sport that is about tradition, and it is now about money, and it has always really been about money. But to people like me, it's not about the money. I want my rivalry games, And so, like, if I'm Oregon, what's going to happen when they're not going to play Oregon State? Like that game is a critical game for those two schools. People they call it civil war. I mean, they love the game. And, same with UW and Washington State. Like that now that in-state rivalry is obliterated. Like, how are you fitted into the schedule? And the more that the conference schedule starts to become more regimented, like you're already seeing the decline. You went from 4 non-conference games to 3 non-conference games. It's probably going to drop to the point where you don't have any non-conference games.
Right.
As these things expand. And then there's also the question of the divisions. Like the Big Ten has said they're not going to keep this East-West division when they add these other schools in. They're going to have to split in some other weird way. How do you maintain those rivalries? Like all of the things that feel college football to me don't matter.
Dying away. It's pretty much it's dying away. It's because I've always looked at it as of lately, it's like we wanted a tournament, you got us a tournament, but then again, you put in stipulations to where it benefits the Power Five and Notre Dame for some odd reason.
But look at how recently the Power Five was created. Like the press release was exactly 2 years ago this week that the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the ACC all announced this alliance. And shared TV deal, and now they've all blown it up.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's just like why that's why I feel like this has to be more than about money, because in addition to the fact of because the Pac-12 has its own TV deal, it did now, and for some odd reason to leave to go into another conference, what is it? The fact that it's like, okay, it's a bigger, better TV deal.
Yes. The CBS deal with the Big Ten is like record setting. It's massive. And the SEC's got the deal with ESPN. It's massive. They've got their own networks. There is already a Big Ten network. Now it's just going to be CBS plus the Big Ten. It's going to be so massive. And the amount of ad money and just like hyper. I mean, I can remember when I had to go to like a bar with a satellite package to see certain games that they weren't, available in my market because I didn't have all of that. That is not going to be a problem for me anymore. Every Big Ten game is going to be on TV. It's already all on TV. Even like when Northwestern is playing Nebraska, like who cares? But like it's still there and they're getting paid for it. Of course SC is going to take that money. Of course UW's going to take that money. Why wouldn't they? The only question is, why didn't Apple, who is like the most profitable company on the planet, come in with a big enough deal to keep them there and get them on Apple TV? Is it just that nobody wants to watch Pac-10 football? I don't think that's true. I mean, there's got to be a lot of alumni and people who love. I mean, everybody in LA watches SC, right? Isn't that like? Right.
But I don't. How I would explain this. Everyone, I think one of the issues I think felt like everyone said is like, okay, no one really looks at the West Coast games because they're on so late, when it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast. And
that's here though. Everybody on the West Coast watches them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I figured it's like, okay, that's a moot point, because it's like, look, everyone hinges on the West Coast numbers, rating wise than it would on the East Coast numbers. So, but I feel like you have these games, Western Coast teams facing Midwest teams. It's like, look, the only time I'd rather see a Pac-10 team face the Midwest team is the Rose Bowl and call it a day.
That's exactly right. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless, and again, unless you want to have like the way I see it is like kill the conferences. I just feel like because that's the like you said, it's not just one mega conference. It's like there's no need to have a conference, just to have a free for all. And
well,
then
it's going to be that. Well, maybe not that. It's going to be leagues. It's going to be super league. Like we got to get rid of calling them schools. They're not schools. This is not, they're not student athletes or anything like that. It's just another kind of football. And but basically we're going to have two super leagues, an NFC and AFC deal where it's going to be the Big Ten and it's going to be the SEC. And that's going to be the two conferences. And everybody else is going to either be like kicked out, like they just know they're not eligible and they're not going to try, or they're just going to be working their way up into those conferences, which will probably expand. I mean, how many teams are in the NFL? 32, right?
Right.
So that's 16 a conference. We're basically at that.
So we're down to my final 3 picks here. So let's see. So I'll give you a recap.
Yeah. Who'd you get?
So let's see. So far, let's see. I'm gonna pick. Let's see. I've been looking at because they're now getting bench players, and I'm thinking I'm getting Jared McKinnon. He's been pretty decent the last couple of years, so I will pick him. So. And
I saw Sam Howell still there on your list.
Yeah, he is. He's a good. I already got a backup. I got Derek Carr and Justin Hubert as my quarterbacks. So I'll keep him in the back 9. Let's see. My pick is about to come up again, so I may need another tight end, and I'm getting. I'm going to get my boy. The backup to Mark Andrews, if he's not fully healthy, is Isaiah Likely. So everyone likes his name. So Likely.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty likely that he'll do well.
Yes. Actually, he did very well last season. So hopefully he'll be doing great things this year. So we're down to our last picks for me in my fantasy draft. So anyway, so where do you think college football will be in after 2024? Do you think like it will? I mean, as much as visually it looks appealing with all these schools there in various different conferences, and it's like, oh, we're getting new rivalries and all that stuff. But but thinking of the fact it's like when the NFL realigned, when they added Houston into the mix, they wanted to keep Dallas in the NFC East because they want to keep those rivalries.
Yeah, of course.
And I feel like here, like you said, I don't know. I mean, besides money aspect, I just need to. I'm trying to figure out. There's got to be something else for you to leave, not just the rivalry aspect of the conference that you pretty much some of these teams were originally in, but also the fact is like, why you're just disrupting everything else, and that's that I'm trying to find that answer. I mean, the obvious answer is already there, but I just need there's got to be something else, because to me, in the end, I really think college football has really fucked itself. I mean, as much as it
into the biggest pile of money possible.
Because the true essence, like you said, when I showed that graphic of the golden era of the Big Ten, and I figured it's like, to me, it's like, okay, this is. I mean, how the ACC was and all that stuff. Here's the thing: the ACC got fucked over when Florida State showed up.
Yes.
So, and it's like, in the way everyone says, like, I felt like, no, the ACC did not need Florida State.
No.
Florida State needed ACC because of their football program, they wanted to dominate and everything, even though they were successful outside. They were an independent.
They were a good independent who won a lot of games. Bobby Bowden was a legend and all of that stuff. Yeah. But they wanted to get in a conference full of non-football schools so that they could whoop the shit out of everybody. And it coincides with the BCS. I mean, that's the beginning of the downfall here. And I mean, I think the answer to your question is that you and I have this problem where we're fans and we're not trying to look at this like in terms of dollars and cents, but that is how the universities are looking at this. They don't care about rivalries. They don't care about traditions. They care about how to make the money the fastest. Because, like you, I want rivalry, right? And I am compelled to watch non-Big Ten games that I know are rivalry games that I care about. You know, I want to watch Oklahoma State. That is a game I want to watch.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have a rooting interest in it. But that new rivalries, there's not new rivalries. That's not how rivalries work. They build up over time. They have to happen organically, you know. It's just like, you know, the old system is dead. And the thing where I'm a fan because, and I'm watching college football because I'm triangulating my rivalry against this school, against that school, against that school to pick who I'm watching in a random SEC game. You know, I don't actually have a dog in the fight between like Mississippi State and Tennessee. I don't care. It's not a thing. But I got to think about, okay, well, Mississippi State beat us in that bowl game, and I fucking hate that. So now I'm rooting for Tennessee to whoop their ass for something that happened 23 years ago. You know, but that doesn't matter because I'm not the thing. You know what is the thing? Betting. There's so much money to be made on all of these, the FanDuel and the DraftKings and all of this stuff where, you know, people aren't watching college football because of the tradition. They're not watching it because of their rivalry. They're not watching it because of their, you know, like visceral attachment to the teams. They're watching it because they're looking on their phone and they're trying to figure out how to parlay and get some more money out of this whole thing. It's over. I am not common. There aren't people like me who are still out here who just blindly love our team, who fight about it in grocery store aisles. Like there aren't. It's just not a thing. It's even people don't even root for their own school that they went to. Like
that's true. That is sadly true.
You know, like they don't have any attachment to this. It just doesn't feel like, you know, that rah-rah home team kind of thing is over. It's gone. It's totally gone. I'm trying, right? I'm teaching my kids, you know, we watch Michigan every Saturday. They go get their Michigan stuff on and, you know, they put their Everton kit on and watch us lose. Like, you know, we have teams, we have affiliations, we root for our team, we love our team. And, you know, because to me, Michigan is as close to a religion as I really have. I have so much invested in this emotionally. Is anybody younger than me that same level of passion? Not a chance. It's not a chance. And the money is all there. It's all there. Nobody cares about whether my eyeballs are looking at the Northwestern Mutual ad that airs 100 times during every Big Ten game. It's what they're looking at is the guy who has real money, who's betting on the game, who tunes in and sees that ad. That's who matters to them, not me.
All right. I want to end on this note. And you mentioned Maryland and not being a football program. And I feel like, you know, Maryland used to be, you know, they have a 1954 national championship.
I was going to say, in the last 50 years, Maryland has not been a football school. But for the first 50 years of football, yes, they were.
Yeah. So do you feel with some of these schools going into these new conferences betters their chances of getting into, not only because we know full well that the college football tournament will expand to 12 teams, I believe, by next year.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this betters their chances of getting, you know, certain teams? Because as far as I've seen throughout this quote unquote playoffs, all I've seen is Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Michigan,
and Georgia
being in these things and just taking over, and everyone claiming it's like, oh, they have the better record, they have the right record, this is the right team to be here, blah 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 blah. But it's like, to me, it's like, can any of these schools being in these new conferences, being in these new quote unquote situations to where they claim to better themselves in the long end, will this help them be national championship contenders down the future? Because I don't see it.
There's probably two ways to look at that. One is their strength of schedule will improve, right? So if you are coming from a conference that has a bunch of cupcakes in it, like the Pac-10 or 12, whatever they want to call it, you know, like beating up on Arizona State is not a it's not a big win. Sorry, Oregon, it doesn't matter. And then you come over to the Big Ten where you're up against Michigan and you're up against Sparty and you're up against Ohio and you're up against Penn State. Your strength of schedule gets better. However, the flip side of that is the chances of winning drop. I mean, if what we're really looking at is the best teams from a weak conference jumping into a strong conference. And if you think that SC and UW and Oregon and UCLA are going to stand like a slight chance, I mean, not even close of a chance in a conference with Michigan, Ohio, Penn State, they're going to get creamed for years. You know, I mean, it's like A&M and the SEC. They're just going to get creamed for years. Will they eventually be able to parlay this into improving their recruiting? You know, is it mean that a kid, a phenom star who is growing up in, I don't know, let's say Nevada, who could be, recruited, would have been recruited to go to UCLA, is now, he's in the Big Ten. Is it more likely? I don't know. Does it make it harder for Michigan to go pluck Western talent because, they're in the same you can't wave that to them anymore. Hey, look, you come to Michigan, you get the more TV exposure, your chances at the league improve. Now SC can say the same thing. Hey, look, come stay here in LA. You can, get the same TV. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, the pipeline is only so big. There's only so many players available. We are getting to this point where the thing might get too big and kind of collapse in on itself. And I don't know what that looks like. I know the BCS is to blame for all of this. This is where like the world ended. We had a bowl system. We had conferences that were regional. We had bowls to settle regional differences between the Big 12 and the SEC, between the Big 10 and the Pac-10. Like, we used a bowl game to decide who was the best between those things. That evaporated with the BCS. The BCS was so bad, so badly run, that it left this terrible taste in everybody's mouth, and people started scrambling for other alternatives, and we ended up with this bullshit playoff system, which is really just the BCS, but with a different name. It doesn't seem, they're ranking it by some black box again. We don't know how the rankings are done. Nobody knows how the rankings are done. We're just left with this mishmash of garbage, and it's great because it gets a lot of money. It's great because people can bet on it. It fills endless hours of podcasts and 17 channels of ESPN and Fox Sports and CBS Sports. Like, it just generates crap. But is it gonna give UW a chance at a championship? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, Maryland certainly hasn't all of a sudden gotten to be a better football program by joining a conference where they get whooped all the time. Certainly Rutgers hasn't either. So, like, I don't know what's a good analog here. Is there some version of where a school has joined a conference they don't really belong in, and then they've elevated as a result of that? Maybe Arkansas, you could say. But I don't know.
Mildly,
yeah, mildly, maybe. Nebraska, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
we forgot about Nebraska. They just like fall off the earth just since they've joined the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I only wanted them in the conference so that we could play them every other year, because I'm still mad at that half a championship they took from us in 1998 because the coaches all gave it to Oz. And the writers all knew that Michigan was a better team. But that was what created the fucking BCS. So Nebraska's to blame for that too. Fuck Nebraska.
All right. Well, speaking of coaches, so your coach for your school in hot water again, mostly for the next 3 weeks. So Jim Harbaugh got suspended for violations and
for a cheeseburger.
For a cheeseburger. So here's the thing. Is this showing the signs that Michigan is kind of done with him, or almost done with him?
No, I don't think so. See, everybody's always looking for like this reason that Harbaugh is going to leave Michigan. He's not going to leave. Something really bad has to happen to make him leave. I'm going to say him,
because I don't think he wants to leave. I feel like the university wants him out.
I don't think so. There's nobody there. I don't hear any chatter from like, athletic directors or anything like that, other than full-throated support for Jim Harbaugh. You have to understand, what Jim Harbaugh means to the Michigan world. He's like a messianic figure. You know, he was a standout quarterback when he was here as a student. He grew up there. His dad coached with Bo. You know, he was Bo's guy. He was Lloyd Carr and all of the connection is so deep, and he doesn't ever want to leave. Like he is a deeply Ann Arbor guy. He lives there. He never moved. You know, even when he was coaching the Niners, like he still lived in Ann Arbor. He just would go out there, you know, for the season. Like, I don't think Jim Harbaugh wants anything to do with the NFL. He had it, you know, he did okay, and then he's like, this is too hard. It isn't what I want to be. What I want to be is the head coach at Michigan, and he basically, unless something really bad happens, can do that for the rest of his given life. There's just nothing that would make us turn our backs on St. Jimmy of Ann Arbor. It's just not possible. And you know, the NFL can't possibly offer him enough money. I mean, this whole joke about like Denver, they were talking about he was going to go to Denver last year, and he put such a you know, pop that balloon so quickly. He's like, I'm not leaving. This is stop this conversation. He says, I called them to tell them to stop calling me. Like that's the extent here. No, nobody wants him out. Everybody wants Harbaugh to stay. Everybody loves Jim Harbaugh. Everybody likes what he's produced. He's beat Ohio twice in a row now. We that is the most important thing to all of us, to every athletic director. They'll give him as many contracts as is necessary, as long as he does that one thing, is beating Ohio. Winning conference championships is also a nice thing. Like it is a thing. No, we're not going to get rid of Jim Harbaugh. And the university standing behind him with this dumb suspension stuff, right? Like they reached a deal with the NCAA, and you know, then the NCAA backed out of the deal, and it was going to be 4 games, and the university was like, we can tolerate 4 games. Then they were like, propose your own deal. They're like, fine, 3 games against the Cupcakes, no less. Like we'll take. He can stay home for East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. These are 3 games he wasn't going to attend anyway. It doesn't matter. It's no. And Jim Harbaugh doesn't even need to be on the field to be the presence. You know, we all feel him. We can all feel him standing there, you know, with his hands on his knees, glaring over his glasses, you know, like furious. He can feel that. We can all feel that all the time. We don't even have to see him. We know he's doing it. You know, he's at home doing it. Like, no, Harbaugh is good. He's not leaving. He's never leaving, unless, you know, something really terrible happens. You know, some massive scandal, or this is not a real scandal. What did he do? He bought lunch for somebody. He bought lunch, and then they made up this dumb stuff about it was during the COVID moratorium. It wasn't. Everybody can see the dates on the receipts for the cheeseburger. Like, it's all bullshit. And you know, it's part of the vast global conspiracy against me and my teams. And I'm not tolerating it. It's all garbage.
Okay.
The election was fixed.
Yeah. And it happened in Michigan. Okay.
That's right.
So anyway, I want to give you the final results of my draft picks.
Yes, let's see your total, your whole roster here. Let's see.
So here's what we got. So for those who can or cannot see, but I'll
run
them down.
The Wheaton Warriors.
Yes, the Wheaton Warriors. That's the name of my team.
Good name.
My number 1 draft pick is Travis Kelce. So the top tier tight end for the Chiefs. My second pick was Josh Jacobs for the Raiders. I went for the second best tight end in the league is Mark Andrews. Then my first quarterback was Trevor Lawrence. That's what was my pick.
Way to go, Sunshine. Good job.
Yes. So my 5th pick was Justin Tucker. Then I picked the Ravens defense. 7th pick, I picked Keenan Allen from the Chargers. Then I picked up Dalvin Cook, who recently got picked up by the Jets for a year.
He's probably going to get a lot of reps there, so I think that's a good chance.
Yeah. Then I get the Gus Edwards as my running back in the 9th round. 10th round, pick Derek Carr. Number 11, pick Michael Pittman Jr. From the Colts. Number 12, pick rookie Zay Flowers. I think he's going to do some really exciting things for the Ravens. Jerick McKinnon is another backup running back for me. Then I picked up the backup tight end for the Ravens, Isaiah Likely, and Tyler Aguilar, whatever, for the Falcons as my last pick of my 2023 fantasy football draft. Likelihood I may trade out for some backup defense, depending on because normally it's like you play a defense up until it's bye week, and the Ravens play always has a late bye week. So by that point, I'll probably drop some players to pick up a very decent defense somewhere down the line. So hopefully,
there's a lot of good defenses out there. I mean, I don't know if somebody's got the Jets already. If somebody's
some picked up the Jets.
Buffalo's defense is very stout. You know, there's some teams out there where the defense is the thing, right? That's what they are. You know, their defense. I mean, the Ravens are that too, but for sure. I mean, even the Washington football team defense looks pretty strong.
Yeah. So surprisingly, during the broadcast, they mentioned how the Commanders has a top 5 defense, and mind you have to respect that, but at the same time, you kind of like things change. Things kind of change, and a lot of people.
If the front four stay healthy, I think that the Washington's ability to get in and mess with quarterbacks pass rush is pretty strong, and the secondary got a bit stronger. That's been our hole for a while, and it's looking a little better. I'm not going to say I don't know if we're top 5, but I think we're top 10.
Yeah. So, and we'll see how season goes, and I'll keep you guys up to date how my fantasy draft is.
Take the Lions defense too. You get Hutch.
Yeah, Lions defense is surprisingly. I think a lot of people probably either will draft them or probably trade for them, trade, or get it.
I mean, Hutch is good for like 2 sacks a game, easy.
Yeah, so that's easy. Speaking of the Lions, okay, now we're getting to the real fun part is our game picks.
Okay.
So I was waiting for Miss Kiki, but we'll get her for next month on some of these games. So we have 4 games to pick from.
Okay.
And each will be for a different game for a different week. So game 1, we're gonna pick, and it's week 1, and it's the Thursday night opener. It's the defending Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs against
Detroit.
The Detroit. When this came out, literally, that was like, I laughed. I'm like, are you fracking kidding me? I mean, this is like,
I look mean.
Yeah, it seemed mean. But then, like you just said, it's like the Lions defense is a little bit better. The Lions have kind of, like last season, they were like becoming a bit of a very aggressive team. And now that the NFC Central has completely changed since Aaron Rodgers has left, and the Packers are kind of like in this flux mode of where they're going to be this season, it's kind of like wide open for them. In addition to, you add into the Vikings, they kind of like lost a lot of key people as well. So really, it's like this is a good showcase for the Lions to say, hey, we have a chance here, and taking on the defending Super Bowl champions in their place, I think is a good stepping stone. Will they win? At first, I thought, oh, they're going to get blown out, but I'm thinking old school Lions. Now I'm thinking it's like, yeah, they're going to lose, but but I think it would be a nice tight game if everything works itself out. What do you think?
I think the Lions have. I mean, in terms of their division, this is their chance, right? The NFC North, or whatever it's called, is at its weakest, as a division. So this is their chance to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. Their chance against the Chiefs is pretty dismal. I got to say. I mean, if they can keep it within 10, I would consider that a win for Detroit. I don't think I just don't see it happening. Kansas City has got every possible weapon on their side. Nobody's hurt. They're coming off the Super Bowl win where they just steamrolled their way through this season. I mean, they're just and nothing's changed. They haven't lost anybody. Andy Reid is still Andy Reid. Patty Mahomes still Patty Mahomes. Travis Kelce still Travis Kelce. Like, and their defense is still their defense. Like, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. I think KC wins 35-21 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be the loss will be double digits. Roughly, like you say, about between 10 to 14 points.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. It'll be a good game to talk about afterwards, but we'll see. This is the Kiki game. I was hoping for her to get her opinion on this one. It's week 2's matchup between the Jets and the Cowboys. So this is supposed to be the big, America's game of the week because the Cowboys will be on it like 6 times this year. What do you think about this? Because honestly, the Cowboys, they're completely different. Defensive wise, they look tough, but offense, they look like a complete mess.
I would echo that. I mean, they picked up Mozzie Smith from Michigan in the draft on their defense to complement Micah Parsons on the other side. The Dallas front is fierce. That's gonna be the case. Aaron, is he a difference maker in at the Jets? I don't know. I'm personally quite invested in this game. Obviously, I hate the Cowboys, and I do love the Jets. They're my dad's team and my wife's team, and there is something special about watching Jets fans gain hope because it's so rare. Okay. So if they notch a win against Dallas on big time primetime TV, is that going to, it will give them some hope, and it will be kind of fun to watch. So much is up in the air about the Jets, though, right? Because like Aaron, you don't know how healthy he is. You don't know how well he's going to integrate in that system, which is reconstituted of his old buddies from Green Bay. Who knows how well that's all going to work together with the Jets coaching staff. And I mean, they are basically a brand new team. So you just have nothing to go off of. At least Dallas, their defense is very solid. That Dak is still Dak. Like, that they've got the receivers, where they need them. So I don't put me on record saying this, but I think Dallas is going to win that game.
Okay.
I don't tell Kiki I said that, but I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a lot of fumbles on both sides, to be honest. But I think Dallas is going to win.
Yeah, it's a week 2 matchup, which is kind of, either depending on how they played in week 1 and where their mentality will be going into week 2. My thing, I've always questioned about Aaron Rodgers for the last 5 years. I mean, it's besides the fact of will he stay in Green Bay or will he won't, and now he's left. I feel like I just don't see him as the Aaron Rodgers as a major threat. And the way I see it is like the Jets are doing what the Buccaneers did with Tom Brady. It's like you're getting him on like the down tier of his career.
Yeah.
And the fact that like you're trying to have this window to get into the Super Bowl. Because that's how I see it. It's like roughly a 1 or 2 year window.
Yeah, they know the time is short. I mean, they did it with Rodgers and Cook, and they're getting a bunch of these veteran guys who might have one more in the tank, but that might be it. And I don't know. I'm with you there. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had an incredible career. He's obviously a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's really been amazing, and won a Super Bowl and done all of the things. And he is a leader and a motivator on that team. But he is old. And he is breakable. And we have seen this happen over the last couple of years that like he gets injured.
Yeah.
He bounces back from it, but how long is that going to keep going?
Right. And the thing is the Jets are always this up and down team to where they look good, and then there are certain games that they should be contending in.
Right.
They fall apart.
Yeah.
And this game I feel is that type of game. It's a game where I feel like they'll contend, but I think they'll fall apart. So I'm going to pick Dallas as well to win this week 2 matchup. Week 3 will go to Aaron's former team, the Green Bay Packers. They'll be hosting against the Saints in week 3. And this is where we'll see Derek Carr, playing by this time his 3rd game as the quarterback for the Saints. This game, I feel like is again 2 franchises that are going into major changes. and it's like, especially with the, mind you, with the Packers, with the quarterback change and a lot of players coming and going, and then with the Saints getting Derek Carr, but then again, there's a suspension with Kamari, and then there's just a lot of, since Sean Payton has retired, then comes back with being the Broncos head coach. But
even Sean Payton can't save that organization.
Yeah. I think this. I'm not saying the Saints are going back to the days of the bag, the cover your head with a bag Saints, but I just feel like, these Saints are just, I don't know. This type of game will be very tough to watch. But I think Derek Carr will outshine Love in this game. So
for sure. I mean, it's just a question of experience, and Carr's a good quarterback. He knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I honestly, the Packers look like a team so like disorganized. They look like they just are. I mean, I can't name 3 people on that team right now they're just collapsing in front of us. And I think the Saints have overcome a lot of challenges when they've had players suspended, coaches suspended, the bounty issue, like Drew Brees being 4'3". Like they can get past difficulty in personnel. They can get past difficulty in the front office, and I think Derek Carr's a better quarterback than a lot of people seem to think he is. I mean, right. You picked him, and I think. Honestly, I think he's pretty good. I think getting out from under the Raiders is going to open up a lot of opportunities for him, and I think the Saints have the weapons. I think they beat Green Bay by like a good 12 points in that game. Yeah.
So I think that'll be a very no-brainer game type of aspect. But anyway, final game for the month of September that we're going to talk about is your team, the Washington Commanders, in Week 4. Facing the defending NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. Your thoughts?
It's going to be a tough game. I mean, it's clear that the Eagles were deserved that trip to the Super Bowl where they got beat. They have all of the weapons. Jalen Hurts is the truth for sure, proving the Alabama quarterback thing incorrect finally. Their defense is incredibly strong, and it's hard. I mean, it'll be Week 4, right? So momentum might be a thing, and that might matter, but it is hard to see on paper where, frankly, 20 some odd teams match up against the Eagles. Like the Eagles are good. That's just how that's going to go. Does Washington have a chance? Absolutely. Look, we've got great receivers, if McLaurin's healthy and all of that. So McLaurin and Dotson and now De'Ami Brown looking good. Is Sam Howell, he's no Jalen Hurts, that's for sure. But is he serviceable? Yeah, he could do the job. And can Gibson get you 3-4 yards a carry? Yeah, that's all there on the offense. On the defense, like I said, the Washington defense is very strong. Johnny Allen is going to get in there and rough some people up. Chase Young, depending on health, and we'll see how that is. But I think he's ready to go level some quarterbacks, and I can see them pressuring Hurts. I don't know that they're going to get to him because he is so evasive. He is so good at moving the pocket, and that Eagles offensive line is, I mean, they give him days to throw the ball. They're so, I mean, the guy never gets rushed. That's the thing. That's why he looks so good, is he's never getting rushed. And when he is, he's moving that pocket and they're all pulling with him and stuff. So I want to win that game. If we do, we're going to win by a touchdown and not much more. I say we win by 6.
Whoa. Okay. You're okay.
I think it's close. I think we win, but I think we win by 6. I can't pick against Washington. Are you kidding?
Okay. All right.
Come on.
Okay. Since you won't, I will. Philadelphia is going to kill these teams. We'll kill them at least by it'll look interesting compared to like a couple years ago where Eagles were winning and then Washington came back to win. And everyone was like, "What the hell just happened?"
We gave them their only loss.
Yeah, that was like, right. So, but this time around, it's like I think Philadelphia is hungry to get back to the Super Bowl. They and especially where they had the opportunity to win it. So I think again, this is just another stepping stone for them to get there. They're going to crush Washington at least by a good 20.
Oh, really?
I just think again, I really think this will be the type of game where a lot of discussion will be how Sam Howell's gameplay it will be tested here. His gameplay will be tested here. I think a lot of discussion will be about mechanics or whatever. I think this is a game where a lot of people will discuss about his gameplay.
I agree with that. I think that it'll be an opportunity to shine, but it is also going to be. I mean, it's going to be his toughest matchup in the division. Because, actually, the Dallas defense might also be, but he's going to be getting hit. They're going to get to him. They're going to lay a hand on him, and the question is, can he tolerate that? I don't know. I mean, McLaurin can get open. That is true, and he's real quick, and it seems like Howell and Brown have a good connection, having played together at UNC. I don't know that that's enough to overcome the firepower of Philadelphia. I mean, they've just got so many things working for them right now. Now, it's week 4. It could be a bunch of injuries by then. Let's hope. I mean,
keep hope alive.
Yes, keep hope alive, and that somebody twists an ankle.
Well, anyway, Chip, thanks you again for coming on, filling in for Kiki, who's again out on assignment. So, and where can people find you around abouts?
Well, you can find our show, Chip Chat, on Thursday nights at 9:30 on Beltway Radio and Beyond. You can find us on the Twitter, if it's still called Twitter. I don't know what to call it now.
Yes.
But X. It's Chip Chat RR, and you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Rip Chip Chat. And Brian is an integral member of our show. So if you didn't get enough Brian, just wait till Thursday. You'll get more Brian.
Yes.
Except I think we're off this week. We're on, but then we're coming. We've got a good September lined up too, by the way, of guests. So should be a good time. Yeah, that's where you can get me. I guess you could find me some other place, but probably not.
Cool. So you'll see it down below where you can see the show. So anyway, that is it for Chip. I am Bryan3SL, and Miss Kiki, she's around. She'll be back next month. So enjoy football, ladies and gentlemen. It is back. So we'll see you next time here on the